next session, the Lit Verdict with Jury. We would like to invite our jury for the fiction segment on stage. Dr. Navjot Kaur. Dr. Navjot Kaur is an academic, a writer, and former principal of SGGS College, Chandigarh. She has been honored with prestigious awards for her stellar work as an educator. Dr. Santosh Bakaya. Dr. Santosh Bakaya is an award-winning poet, novelist, biographer, and TEDx speaker. She has 28 books across different genres to her credit. Ramender Kumar. Ramender Kumar is an award-winning writer, performance storyteller, and inspirational speaker with 49 books under his belt. His books brought out by the National Book Trust, NBT India, have notched up sales of more than 1 million copies. He also happens to be a gutsy cancer soldier. Ranjeet Powar. Ranjeet Powar, moderator for this session.
To the creators and lovers of literature, the 3 books shortlisted for an award in fiction writing today are The Blue Bar by Damyanti Biswas, which is a racy thriller that dives into the dark alleys of Bombay and also the human mind. Then Eden Abandoned, the story of Lilith by Shinie, Antony. And the novel falls into the genre of mythology, but at the same time, it also seeks a parallel in modern times with women who refuse submission and servility. The 3rd book is Taxi by Manjula Padmanabhan, and this story weaves in issues of gender, class, and race dysphoria in the Indian society. We all read books, and sometimes we live vicarious lives through a certain book. And then there is another book that we can't get past the 10th page. It is very curious why some books resonate with a reader and why some don't. So we have 3 jury members who have evaluated the shortlisted books. And I'm sure it was a delightful experience, but also very daunting. Now, the jury members today that we have are Navjot Kaur, Santosh Bakaya, and Ramender Kumar in that order. I have some very short questions for each of you. And I would like to make not a very nice request to give equally short answers because we only have 15 minutes. So my first question is for Navjot Kaur. What do you look for when you buy a book?
I look for the title first. How the title appeals to me of any piece of writing. Does the cover substantiate the title? Mm-hmm. And that's what makes you then turn the pages to look for the author's background and the other works of the author, which would definitely give us an insight into the perspective of the writer. And that's how you pick up a book in the first place.
Right. So, a very honest answer to this. Did you read all the books to the last page?
Yes.
Or there were some that you couldn't get beyond?
I am by nature a meticulous person. So it comes naturally that I read right from the first to the last page. I'm sure to assess novels or any piece of writing, you do need to go through the entire piece of writing.
That should be very heartening for writers who have not been very successful. Their books are being read by somebody. Now, another thing is that I don't know if you voted for the 3 shortlisted books, but what exactly did you find engaging in whichever 3 books that you voted for?
I think all the 3 books are there in the books that I have shortlisted. And like every good piece of writing, it's how immersive is the narrative of that writing. How well can you grip a reader, and that elusive quality of transporting the reader into an entirely new world, and at the same time it could take you deep into the human psyche. So these are the things which I found in the books which were shortlisted. And if I'm not being very selective, I think I really appreciated Shinie Antony's book, because being a woman, we could relate to the voice that she has raised and the issue that she has raised. And I think we all have that Lilith in us. We all have that part of that narrator in each one of us, and we would like to play that role in life given our way.
So, does that mean that you must identify with the protagonist to enjoy a book? What would you say of science fiction then?
Science fiction, I think, goes into a lot of research before it is actually comes before you. Sci-fi is not totally an imagination of the writer. There is a certain amount of research that goes into it, and sometimes sci-fi also inspires the scientists to think further, think beyond what was already existing.
Thank you. Let's move to Santosh Bakaya. Santosh, what is your favorite genre in fiction?
At the very outset, let me tell you that I love your voice. You had talked to me the other day and you were chirping like a bird. That was very, very beautiful. And let me come to the question. Well, I am basically a storyteller. I write and I like all sorts of fiction, but I don't like science fiction because I never liked science as such. And I used to get very, very poor marks, pathetic marks in science. So I don't like science, but before I say something else, let me say something else too. Where is Rachna? Yeah. So hi, nice to see you there. So Rachna, she had the audacity to phone me one day. Would you like to evaluate some books? I said, yes, why not? I thought there would be just 6 or 7 books, but there were a whole lot. And food for thought. When I was dieting, I was cutting on the calorific value of food. But she sent me 29 books, big fat books, and full of humor and full of bright content. Very, very good books. So the question that you asked, I read all the books, and he too read all the books because he kept exchanging notes and all. So excellent books, all of them.
That should have made your dieting easier, I'm sure.
But she stands guilty. She sits guilty to the charge of having sent the whole carton of books, 29.
Well, now another question is that since you said you don't like science fiction, there are so many of us who do not like a certain genre of books. They seem to be a series of untruths, right? So now, when you were judging the books, so did you have a leaning towards a specific genre, or there were some that you wouldn't read if you had to buy them?
Yeah, there were at least 10 of them I wouldn't buy. And of course, I'm not going to name them, but there were at least 10, honestly speaking. So this is a very candid answer, but I'm very fond of humor. And both of us, we write humor, satire. And so there is one particular book which is not there in the list, but I loved that book. And Rachna also knows it, The Viceroy's Artist. I really loved it because of the humor, the wit, the satire, and the juxtaposition of the past and the present. The way the author has done that, bringing Edward Lear into the present. Edward Lear, who had come to India in the year 1873. And one more thing, because my literary career, or lack of it, my husband glares at me when I say my literary career because he says, you hardly have a literary career. So anyway, I don't have a literary career, but I think I started writing limericks when I was a kid in the 6th standard, and Edward Lear started that. So I was very, very, captivated by that book, honestly speaking. It was one of my favorite books. It's not there in the list.
So, Mr. Bakaya, wherever
He's
you
not
are.
Mr. Bakaya, he's Mr. Magazine. He's
Oh.
clicking.
All right, I totally disagree with you.
He's
She's
not
an
listening.
author of 38 books, for heaven's sake. So now, what were the core literary qualities that made you decide for certain books? You know, some people like to write, but they do not have any matter or the skill, and others have the skill, but they don't know what story to tell. So, what were the qualities that made you decide which books you would vote for?
So I have a very small, sleek book here with me. And, honestly speaking again, I picked this book from the huge lot of 29 huge books because I found this very sleek, very pretty, and I thought I would be able to finish it in one go, but I couldn't. Honestly, I couldn't because there were so many things to be read between the lines. And there were not many lines, but I had to read many things between the lines. And in the end, this was a winner for me. I'm talking about these lines. The dew on the apples, the sun on the apples, the breeze gently rocking the apples, apples in the moonlight, apples awash in the rain, dancing on the tree, little geishas of elaborate seduction. This got to me. I was really, really impressed by this line. Little geishas of elaborate seduction, in tight red kimonos, ready to be ripped. The shy green ones, shiny at sundown, waiting to blush pink as they came of age, and the overripe apples that jump to the ground beneath, oozing pulp, they jump to the ground like they could take it no more, this clawing weight to be consumed, to be savored, to burst their magic on tongue and teeth. Kudos to you, and hats off to you. And the lyrical paintings
So there can be poetry in fiction too. Now, Ramendra, how would you differentiate an entertaining book from a literary work?
First of all, I would like to say that this is the second most arduous task I've ever undertaken. The first being convincing my beautiful, gorgeous wife sitting there to marry me. 29 books, and let me be frank that 4 or 5 books I couldn't complete. They were really not up to the mark, but at least 7 or 8 were absolutely stunning. So to answer your question, there are no strict compartments between a literary work and an entertaining work, or a compelling and riveting work, because literary work can be entertaining and or compelling, and a compelling work can be a literary work. For instance, we have books like 1984 by George Orwell, and another book which Gone with the Wind, Margaret Mitchell, which are both entertaining and compelling literature. But what I believe is that literature a book which is entertaining for the sake of entertainment, like Harold Robbins or James Hadley Chase, is not great literature. It's like bubble gum, and the taste wears off after some time. A book, to be a literary piece, a great literary classic, should have universal values and should be timeless, like To Kill a Mockingbird. Happily.
Right. So, when you were evaluating these books, what were your priorities? Was it the writing skill, or was it the matter, or a deeper meaning in it?
For me, the first and most important was the character development. And here again, she has taken a bit of my from me. What I would have liked to say, Lilith was absolutely brilliant. I have not, from Eden Abandoned by Shinie, I have not seen a more beautifully and brilliantly edged character. I have not read anything. Lilith has the qualities of Heathcliff from Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights. She has a bit of a Michael Henchard from Mayor of Casterbridge, but she's much more than that. She has agency. She is a uber feminist. She's both a victim and a villain in places, and most importantly, she is timeless. And she was mentioning that as a woman, she found shades of Lilith in her. As a man, I find shades of Lilith in me, and I'm proud of that. And I find shades of Lilith in my beautiful, gorgeous wife and my young daughter. So the timeless quality and the brilliant way in which it was written, that made me completely fall in love with the character in the book. And for me, that is absolutely top notch.
Let me add something.
No,
No, what?
you're again going to steal my thunder. She's going to steal my thunder. Yeah.
We are running.
This that she talks of, yes. So raw, and it was so, whatever she writes, so palpable, it was almost tragic. So, and let me tell you, there's also a Lilith. This is the last line in the book, and I think it is right.
One last short question for him.
Her husband's name is Lalit, so Lalit is the past tense of Lilith.
Was Lilith virtuous? And you know why I asked the question?
Yeah, pardon?
Was Lilith virtuous?
How do you define virtue?
I don't know.
I think she
You
is.
would know.
I think she is virtuous. I think she's bold, brash, beautiful, and she's my heroine forever.
And this book, let me add again, is the song of freedom. And all of you out there, all of you.
Thank you so much, esteemed and enlightened members of the jury. Thank you.
Request Mr. Manmohan Singh Kohli, a poet, connoisseur of the fine arts and CEO Aroma Hotels, to please honor our jury members of the fiction segment.